Welcome, everybody, to the Three Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and we've got a special interview tonight with guest Larry Houck. Larry, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's great to have you. So, the Larry Houck of Three Guns. So, a lot of months ago, I wanted to have you on the show. Our schedules didn't line up for whatever reason, and just recently, the big FN match came up again, and I was like, man, we got to get Larry on again. And I got a young lady that's booking up the show, and she did a fantastic job, and she figured that out before I even told her, and here you are.
Yeah, it actually was funny when I got the message. Like, yeah, I'm happy to be there, and the dates actually worked out really good because I happened to be in a downtime for work in between two events and heading out Thursday to obviously NRA annual meetings is coming up. So
yeah, it's a big one. Yeah, so you're working for Vista Outdoors now. You're at Blackhawk, and you said you're in Kansas. Do they have offices there? Or are you like deployed or what?
Well, they used to. Obviously, Vista is a big ship.
Yeah,
and I work specifically for the tactical global product unit, which handles Eagle, Blackhawk, and Uncle Mike's. So I'm primarily handle Blackhawk and Uncle Mike's, senior product manager for holsters and duty gear. We were based here out of Overland Park, Kansas, specifically if you remember the old Bushnell office. So with that, I moved to Kansas 3 years ago. And just most recently, a change in the business unit to put the headquarters back at Virginia Beach. So son, senior in high school, I just couldn't up and pick him up and moved to Virginia Beach. So they're allowing me to work remotely here out of my house. Matter of fact, you're looking at my office through the camera view. It's stunning. I've got some cabinets back there with some storage stuff in. You do not want to look at the rest of it because it's just boxes of stuff.
Yeah, that's the same thing. The other day, I put a picture of my workbench up here on Instagram, and people gave me a hard time about how clean it is. I was like, well, the camera points back this way. The mess is over there.
Yeah, you definitely. It's amazing what we do can show on camera. Just don't look off camera.
Yeah, pretty much, right? That's the idea. Yeah, this looks like a work area, like a cabin or something like that, but it's a studio. It's built from scratch to look like that.
Yep. Yeah, it's if you went down in my man cave / gun room, my wife doesn't go down there at all. She goes, there's just stuff everywhere, and you got little workspaces here and there, and that's how you do stuff, because you never know when you might need that part, so you stick it in a place and hang on to it, because I've had parts from when I originally started shooting back in the early 90s. I need them one day.
Yeah. Those are the best parts to have too, because there's always that one situation where you're like, man, I know I saw that. I feel like it was 17 years ago, but I bet I can find it.
A funny story is when we moved out here, I had so much stuff. I didn't want the movers obviously moving it. They couldn't move ammo and stuff. So I actually went out and spent about $7,000 on an enclosed trailer just to move all my gun stuff and accessories and things to Kansas. So, yeah, I'm not sure the wife was too happy about that one.
That seems like a lot. Yeah, totally worth it though.
Oh yeah. I've got portable storage now in my driveway.
Yeah. So, Larry, you've been in the firearms industry for a long time then. So how did this start? Did this start out as like a passion for you and then turn into a career, or was it vice versa?
Well, it really started out as a Friday night friend. Hey, let's go shooting. And we were actually stationed together in Fort Carson, Colorado, 1991. So we started shooting on just going to the range on Friday nights, and they had a bowling pin league. So we started shooting bowling pins on Friday night, and then that leads to IPSC, USPSA, found that on the weekends. That led to some other shooting. That led to 3-gun, and next thing you know, 28 years later, I'm still shooting.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So Fort Carson, you were in the Army then.
Yep. Yep.
Got it. How long did you do that?
I was on active duty for almost 7 years and got to really shoot the really big guns that travel really fast across country. I was on an Abrams tank.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, those things haul butt.
Yeah, they definitely have a huge fun factor until you break something. Then then your downtime is extended because there's
No
nothing
kidding.
easy to fix on a tank.
Well, and it's not like you can just call the wrecker, put it on the back, and take it somewhere either, right?
Actually, they do have tank wreckers.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's called a M88. Well, when I was on active duty, it's M88 recovery vehicle. But now they've put those on Abrams chassis because the 88 chassis was a old 60s chassis, and it's got a big, huge crane. If you Google an M88 recovery vehicle, it's got a big, massive crane on top of it. It's pretty cool. Got a big blade in front that's got to go down when they start winching and stuff because the tanks are 68 tons, something like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, those are huge. Turns out you can buy them surplus, by the way.
Well, there you go. In case you ever need one.
Well, so when you got out of the Army, did you immediately go into the outdoor industry?
No, I went to work for my dad.
Okay. And so when did the firearms end of it come into your career?
Probably about 3 years after I got out of the service. I actually went and started in law enforcement, and right after 9/11, I started doing a lot of firearms training for private security. Of course, anytime that was at that time, everybody was chasing a lot of money because there was a lot of private contract stuff out there after 9/11. So, did that and then went back to law enforcement. And about 2012 is when I actually went into the firearms industry. I actually went to work for FN as a full-time employee.
Okay. And so what did you do at FN when you started there?
I was first started as an assistant product manager and then worked my way over to really doing a lot of work for the sales side, sales and marketing. And I was dealer support manager for eastern half of the United States.
Okay. Well, so I came into Three Gun like 2011 and pretty much shot locally until 2016. So got to treat me like I've never heard any of these stories before. And so tell me everything. Don't think like, oh, I'm not going to tell Dave this because he already knows this. Like, this is all cool, interesting stuff to me. And I love hearing the backstory where things came from. And
actually,
you're involved in one of the more legendary matches of all time in Three Gun. So I want to get into that as well.
Okay. Well, I actually really found Three Gun back in 2006. Two guys, Dean DeTurk and Matt Nagel. I shot a lot of local matches with them, and you probably know Dean. He's from Pennsylvania. The guys are from the Pennsylvania area, and that's where I live.
I've shot with Dean several times, and he's been on the show.
Yeah, Dean's a great guy, and he talks me into about 2006. Hey, they're having this team event. Well, it's kind of like, okay, never shot Three Guns. So Dean, I kind of don't have a rifle. Let me throw something together here and put an ACOG on top of a rifle. Totally the wrong optic to shoot, considering the farthest we shot that day was like 75, 80 yards, maybe nice. 100 if we were lucky.
A little hard on 3-power.
Oh yeah, it was all 3-power, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to sight through the scope and everything. It's like it was all. So I truly wasn't there for my rifle skills. I was there for my handgun skills because up to that point, I shot a lot of USPSA, achieved master class levels. So Dean and Matt really handled the rifle aspect of it, shotgun aspect of it. And I just kind of cleaned up with the handgun what I could. And if I remember correctly, we either won it or finished second. So that was kind of like really cool. And then Dean's like, hey, we got to go down to Fort Benning to this 3-gun match. So I'm like, okay, we go to Fort Benning. That was a real eye opener because, at that point in time, loading a shotgun off the side saddle, one round at a time, if you got one round in the gun in a second, you were fast. I was still struggling like around 8 rounds at 10, 12 seconds. So it just wasn't smooth for me. But then I moved to New Mexico because I took a job down there as a lieutenant with the police department for White Sands Missile Range. And August timeframe of, well, it would have been July of 2009, Tommy Thacker from FN calls me up. Says, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm standing in my garage. He goes, no, silly. What are you doing for sponsorship or shooting? I'm like, not really anything. I'm just having a good time. Because you want to shoot for us? I'm like, who's us? He says, FN. Well, I knew that FN made the 249 from the military. I'm like
sweet,
okay,
I get a scar.
What am I shooting? I said, what am I shooting? He goes, how about a SCAR? I'm like, oh, that's the new cool battle rifle. Oh, yeah. So he sends me a SCAR, and I'm literally got a month to get ready for Rocky Mountain. Maybe I didn't even have that long. Maybe it was 2 weeks. And I got this ACOG that I won from, not ACOG, but a 1-4 that I won from Trigicon, that I won from Fort Benning. And so I throw that on top of the SCAR and go out. Matter of fact, I've still got pictures of, sighting it in and everything. And I go shoot this match and just have a good time. Back to that single loading again with the shotgun. Got an SLP, and we were shooting the FNX 9 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The FNS hadn't come out yet. So the next year was the official launch of the team, which FN was the first major 3-gun team that I can recall in 3-gun. So it was cool. We got a lot of sponsors such as Mac Tools. No one ever, everybody knows what Mac Tools is if you race. But when you think about Mac Tools in the firearms industry, unheard of. We had Polaris as a sponsor, another great outdoor product, but not specific for the firearms industry. All hunters have Polaris, trap skeet shooters all have Polaris razors and things like that. That's when the razor just come out. So we're starting to get a lot of traction within not only the shooting industry, but outside the shooting industry. And, we had a truck, Ford Raptor, with a tandem axle enclosed trailer that we hauled the razor around in. And we really formed the team. The first team consisted of Ken Fowle, Tommy Thacker, Dinah Lydorf, Tanya Erickson, which was Tanya Hanisch at the time, Mark Hanisch, and some guy by the name of Dave Neth out of Idaho. You ever hear that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Dave kind of has disappeared a little bit, but Dave's a great guy. So that formed the core of our shooting team. And, FN sponsored a match out in CMMG's range. It was the FNH USA Midwest 3-gun.
Mm-hmm.
And, we all get there for the match. And, we've got 3-Gun Nation kind of start kicking off and things. So, you talk about how the FN match, I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about that, how it came about. Well, it came about because of that match. It rained a lot that weekend, so much that we all went to the local store and bought boots to wear because our shoes were just caked full of mud. And, mud was, in some places, it was 12 inches deep. It was so deep in one shooting area that they had to tether the plates to the stands because when you knocked it off, you couldn't find the plate in the mud. It was, Dave, I'd never seen so much mud in all my life. So, but there was a lot of things that I had seen through the years of shooting USPSA and putting on a USPSA match that wasn't done at that match for the benefits of the shooter. The shooters are the customers in 3-gun. And you have to take your 3-gun match or any shooting match, and you have to run it like a business. You treat it just like a business with the shooters or participants being your customer. And that's your sole focus, because without a customer, your business doesn't exist.
So, that's a good point, and it makes sense from the most basic standpoint there possibly is. But how is it that a lot of matches miss that part of it? What do they think they're doing other than putting on an event for customers?
First is the fun factor. You've got to make the event fun, because there's very few people in this industry that shoot for a living and make a salary off just attending matches and shooting in the prizes.
All right.
That makes sense. The second thing that I can tell anybody that wants to be a match director, don't shoot only at your local club and say, hey, I'm going to put this big match on. Dave, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't invent stuff. I didn't come up with these great ideas. I'm the best thief there is. When I say that, that's all in good fun, because imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And because I had the privilege of being able to travel to so many different matches, not only as just a shooter, but a sponsored shooter, I could see what matches did well, and I could see what matches didn't do well. And I would make notes. And those notes, ultimately, I took bits and pieces out of all the matches to put it into one match and come up with a good format. I mean, there was a lot of firsts in the FN 3-gun match that was not done before. And I always like a challenge when somebody says, you can't do that.
Well, so give us an example of something that people do in matches that they shouldn't be doing. And then on the other side of it, give us a couple examples of something that they should be doing.
Well, one of the biggest things that I can give a new match director piece of advice is plan. And when I say plan, the biggest mistake I see people doing is trying to fit a 60-round combined with all 3 guns course of fire with a long reset time, and you have 15 people on a squad and you got an hour time window. You have just set yourself up for disaster. When it takes the average person, 160 minutes or 140 seconds, to shoot that course of fire, then you've got all the reset. Well, you're now 6 minutes from shot to shot. When I say shot to shot, that's timer start to the next timer starts. That's the window that you have to get that shooter through. They've got to load their guns up, get them positioned, execute the course of fire, and the course is reset for the next shooter. If that's 6 minutes and you have 15 people on a squad, that's 90 minutes. If you trying to fit that into a 1 hour window, there is no way that's going to work, because, oh, by the way, you've got a stage briefing and stage walkthrough to do.
Yeah.
So if it takes 5 minutes to read the briefing, then you get 5 or 10 minutes to do the walkthrough. Your entire stage time for that squad is now 175 minutes.
And you gave yourself an hour.
Why matches get behind.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So what should they be doing then?
Well, what they should be doing is looking at the course of fire and saying, I've never had somebody walk off of a course of fire that has kind of, I don't want to say burned through, but effectively shot the course of fire quickly to their ability and done it well, and walk off like, man, I was upset at that stage. I don't want to shoot that stage again. All I hear is like, man, I want to shoot that stage again. That is the good course of fire that you want to aim for. And you want to aim for about a 3 to 4 minute turn time from that stop to stop. Because if the course is so long that, 50 or 60% of your paying customers are timing out on the stage, that stage is way too long.
So what do you think is like an adequate amount of timeout on a stage? There's got to be some, right?
I try to shoot for 10% or less.
Okay. It seems like a reasonable number. If you're talking like a 200 person match, then that's going to be 20 people. And then, yeah, I mean, if you figure, you got your 100% shooters, your 70%, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing, that 10% equates to, if you look at it in USPSA standards, The target group of the majority of USPSA shooters are B class, anywhere from a high C to a low A, and incorporating the B class. That is the group that you really want to target. So that's a bulk of your shooters. You're going to have your new shooters, your first time at a major match shooter. That's those 10% that probably may time out. Obviously, you always want to have a zero, because let's face it, if I try to build a course of fire where Greg Jordan, Daniel Horner, Taryn Butler, Jerry Mishlik, any of those really, really good shooters, it's super difficult for them, and they're running up in a say 120 or 160 second course of fire, even 180 second course of fire, and they're in that 80th percent of that. When I say 80th percent, their time is 125 seconds to 140 seconds. The average person is not even going to complete that course of fire before time's out.
No, not even half of it.
Right. So that's, and I'm not, I love Greg, love Daniel. I'm not building the course of fire for them, because those guys, the good shooters, are always going to figure out how to navigate that course of fire effectively, efficiently, and accurately.
Right. Well, like you said, like the B class shooter, that's like the bulk of the people that are going to be at the match, right? Like those
Correct.
are going to be
that's the
if
paying
you've got
customer.
if you've got like a bell curve, they're going to be at the big part of that bell.
Yep.
That makes sense. Well, so you talked about some firsts in FN. With that background of like what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, what were some firsts that you did at the FN match? And actually, maybe let's take a step back real quick. Like, why did you start? Did you guys start the FN match?
I'm a glutton for punishment.
I mean, anytime I talk to a match director, I'm like, why are you doing this?
Well, keep in mind, I ran a USPSA match, and anybody that was back on the East Coast that was shooting from 2001 to 2008 knew about a match called the Summer Blast. That started out as, hey, I want to do a match. It was fundraiser for the FOP that later turned into fundraisers for the juniors and the local club. And it went from Fredericksburg, Virginia to York, PA. That match was about having fun. And I enjoyed watching people come off stages and saying, hey, I want to shoot that course again. Kind of missed that when I moved to New Mexico. But then that match when we were at the FN Midwest 3-gun, I actually kind of approached Ken Fowle, said, hey, I said, there's some things here that I'm seeing that, our name is, because I was associated with FN at the time, so our name was attached to it. I said, this is good, but I think we can do it better. He goes, okay. He goes, put me a proposal together. So I put a proposal together. Tommy said, hey, there's a new range opening up, Peacemaker National Training Center. And we were actually the first major match that they hosted there in 2011. And I swear to this day, I think I gave Cole, the owner, 4 heart attacks, 3 aneurysms, and 6 near-death experiences.
I'll tell you what, like that, I don't doubt that, because like if you're talking about like a new match, like I've been burned a lot on going to a match and it's not what you expect. Now a new range, like I don't know if they're going to be cool, but you got a new match and a new range.
Now keep in mind, not only did we have a new match, a new range, no infrastructure. Because when I saw the range on December of 2010, they were still cutting trees down and saying, hey, the bays are going to be over here. We can kind of shoot over here. I'm looking at this. I mean, they had equipment on there grinding tree limbs up. That's how new this was. And I was like, and having that anxiety attack. And okay, so we get there for setup, and only 50% of the bays were built because they ran into problems because they hit rock. I'm like, oh crap. So I had to shift some stages, and luckily in 3-gun, you can do that with some ease. We were able to adapt and overcome and put a good match on the ground. So that was kind of unique. But the best part about the FN 3 gun was I pulled something from Fort Benning that I absolutely loved. And that was also part of the Summer Blast as well, too. Fort Benning at the time was the only 3 gun match where you just showed up and shot. You didn't have to reset a target because they pulled all the guys that were recycling through the Ranger School or waiting for Ranger School to start, and they pulled them over to reset targets and stuff. I said, can I do this at our match? And I was able to figure out how I could do it. So that was great, where you just showed up and shot. You didn't have to do anything. But what that does for you, a couple things is it allows an RO to immediately score a target or see a target, and your scoring and your reset actually goes faster because your crew on that stage gets a system down. So now I'm reducing my stage time from that start to start again. But what else I did that was really, really cool, and I was told it could never be done and keep the match on time, was run a 3 gun match in a half-day format. Because everything up to that time was you shoot an hour, hour and a half on, you're an hour and a half off. Well, you're setting on the range the entire day. And I don't know about you, but starting and stopping, it just, for me, that was, man, I want to go and I want to go get the stages done and then I'm done. We were able to accomplish that.
For a long time, like I've said, like the on-off format, it does not work for me because I'll shoot, I'll get so amped up, and then we're done resetting, and then after that, I'm like ending up falling asleep on my tailgate. Like I'll have that crash of now I'm not allowed to, or I'm not supposed to do anything, and then when it's time to go shoot, like I just woke up from a nap.
Right. Exactly.
Which is hilarious to think that that people said the half-day format couldn't work because like the bulk of matches I go to is half-day format.
Well, but it goes back to that planning of, hey, I know I got to set a stage for this many minutes, and I can only have this many people on a squad because I got to figure the stage reading and then the briefing. And instead of up until that point in time, also, you had a 5-minute walkthrough, just like USPSA. Well, that's fine if your stage total length is only 15 or 16 yards. But in 3-gun, you're running sometimes 30, 40, 50 yards. Well, by the time I get done and locate all the targets, all right, first shooter to the box. Well, crap. I got no time to develop a stage plan. I'm back in the back, kind of looking over people's shoulders. How's that stage plan? I hope I don't miss any of them. So we actually instituted a 10-minute walkthrough.
Huh. So you did all that, truncated all the time, and then added a 10-minute walkthrough in there.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, but our squads were like 10 people, 10, 12 people.
How many people were shooting the match?
Yeah, so but you got to remember, those guys were there to do nothing but shoot. You didn't have to corral the cats after reset or get them to go down to reset. So they're right there ready all the time to go shoot. So that actually, while it sounds like, well, that can't work because, it's no way they can work out. But it actually worked out really well because the shooters were ready to go because the only thing they had to do was shoot.
And how many shooters did you have at the match total?
The last year was 348, including staff.
That's incredible.
And in 2014, we had on the prize table 148 guns.
Damn. That's insane.
That's why it was the to-go match. You not only had fun, you only had to shoot, but we had a kick-ass prize table.
All right, now I feel like I missed out on something.
You did.
Yeah, apparently. So what's the next match you're doing, Larry?
He tells me constantly, man, I was ready to go to the next year, and you guys stopped it. I'm like, I didn't really stop it. FN decided to stop it.
Yeah. All right, so next year, the Blackhawk Larry Houck Invitational. No? Okay.
No. No.
Well, so one thing, the reason that your name came up recently is I've had a discussion with several people after going to several matches this year already, and finding good, competent, actually just willing ROs is becoming more and more difficult. And it seems like the culture is, I'm here to shoot, I paid my money. I don't owe anything else to the sport. So you now have a match that's on the complete other end of the spectrum where you have fully staffed. Could that be done today?
Sure, it could be.
Yeah.
And all I'd have to do is send out an email, and depending upon the location and time of year, I could probably get a majority of that match staff back because we took care of the match staff. And let me explain to you why.
Yeah.
This sport starts out with volunteers. Without volunteers of the sport, you can't have a sport, because if I had to pay the staff a wage, your match fee would be about $1,500.
Yep.
Okay. So we have to take those people and we have to take care of them. And what I did as a match director is I brought the match staff in they could come in on Tuesday. I had the room available for them Tuesday night. They shot the match on Wednesday and Thursday. So they weren't trying to jam everything into a half-day format. Oh, I'm sorry, a one-day format, all 9 stages. So I gave them basically 2 days. While they were on the range, we fed them. We gave them all shirts. I think they got 3 match shirts, and I picked up a sponsor for those match T-shirts. So you'd have a nice logo on the back, says FNH USA 3-Gun Championship, and then the sponsor logo on it, or left chest or whatever. So I didn't have to take that out of the match fund. The sponsor, it's another marketing opportunity. We covered all their hotel rooms while they were there. We had a staff banquet on Friday night. That was a catered staff banquet. And we actually had prizes set aside for the match staff. And I will never forget Black Rain Ordnance. The first time they came, I invited them because I worked with them at one of the matches, and the guys, I invited them to come. And every year after that, including that year, they put up a gun just for the staff, because when they saw everything that I laid out and did for the staff, they wanted to be a part of that. So they became the premier sponsor for the match staff, because those guys worked matches. They knew what was in it, and they wanted to take care of the staff. And then what we also allowed the staff to do was walk the prize table and order a finish where they shot the match. That was the fairest way that I thought that I could take care of the staff. I ask a lot of the staff. I ask a lot of hours out of them, but it's also one of those things of taking care of them. And I can tell you, my wife really hated the week of the match, the week prior to the match, because I was probably leaving the house at 5 a.m. in the morning and not getting home until midnight. But my philosophy of leadership is, I'm not going to ask you to be on the range if I'm not there on the range working with you.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, so I guess it comes down to incentives, right? Just like everything in life. It's like, what incentives can you provide to ROs?
But just like anything we do within the shooting industry, it's also about relationships that you build. Mm-hmm. I would go work matches. I'd work with people, and it's like, hey, you want to come work our match or whatever? And there's a lot of people that the only match that they worked every year was the FN match. And they loved it because of the incentives that we offered. But we also, it was like a family environment, a family get together every year. And I mean, I tell you what, I could not put that match on if it wouldn't be for my match staff. And 2 people that I'll give a shout out to that were really instrumental in it was Howard Thompson, who also was involved with the York Isaac Walton League shooting, and then AJ Williams, who I actually got started. I got him started in shooting way early, and those 2 guys are, Howard was my range master operations, and AJ was my basically guy that if something broke, he was there to fix it immediately, just like that. So,
yeah, 2 super important guys in the match game for sure.
Any good match director, if I could give somebody a piece of advice of wanting to be a match director, if you surround yourself with good people, give them the guidance, their left and right boundary, here's our start point, here's our end point, and you let them go do great things, you'd be surprised what people can accomplish.
Do you still shoot 3-gun matches?
I do.
do you see the same thing that I'm seeing as far as it seems like the volunteerism isn't really prevalent or talked about in the sport?
Yes, and it's sad that I see it, because there's matches running with skeleton crews. Sometimes I've seen only one RO on a stage. And,
yeah, the last
somebody
two matches I've been at, I've seen the match director running timers.
Yeah. Yep. Well, there's well, I think some of it has to do with our own. How do I want to say this without sounding wrong? But it's kind of our own greed, because 10 years ago there were 5 or 6 major 3-gun matches, and then there wasn't any local 3-gun matches. It was USPSA or IDPA. Now 3-gun has become almost like USPSA. You can shoot a 3-gun match every weekend, whether it be a local, state, or regional or national match.
Yeah.
So now, because we have put more demands on people only have so much vacation, so much time they can commit to it. And, that's what we're starting to see, that you just don't have the volunteers there anymore like you used to.
Yeah. So do you think it's like the kind of like the sponsor thing? We're drawing from the same pool, so it appears that we've got less participation, but we have the same amount.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
We've put more demands on the calendar with the same number of people, and we either have to do one of two things: increase the number of people or decrease the number of matches.
Mm-hmm.
And you increase the number of people by, hey, if you're going to shoot any matches, go volunteer at a match. If you've never volunteered at a match, you're missing a great training opportunity. And allow me to expand on that for a moment. That training opportunity is when you run that timer, that clipboard, you get to see every single shooter come through that stage to see how they shot it correctly or not correctly. And you get to witness the really good shooters. And you know what? You can learn from. I learned more from watching guys like Todd Jarrett, Jerry Mishlik, Scott Warren, that I shot a lot with on the East Coast, that when they would go through a stage and how they would pick it apart and set up here, set up there, angles and things like that, than I could have been done in any training session, the amount of bullets that I put down range.
Yeah, I mean, that's really true. The Texas 3-gun championship, I did filming for like a video I just put together that I'm really proud of, actually. But it's on YouTube. Check it out if you're watching on YouTube right now. But in the editing process, I noticed so much more from all the shooters that I had doing the exact same stage and the exact same thing. And breaking that down and watching those videos over and over and over again, man, I can't believe, like, in the last 2 weeks, I had so many breakthrough epiphanies.
Exactly. And there's a saying that I have when I tell new guys or new gals that are shooting: the top shooters don't practice to get it right. They practice so they don't get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's resounded with me for so many years is, and then they also only do the necessary amount of movement to execute what they need to do. I mean, I watch so many new shooters waste so much time in all the excess movement. For example, you draw the handgun and then you take a step into your shooting position. Well, that step just costs you time. And being an RO, I watched all of that non-extra movement and figured out, hey, these guys are only doing the movement necessary to complete the task at hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so I guess it just comes back to the same thing. So one of the concepts that I've been thinking about recently, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this, is there's still, even now in 2019, so many matches popping up. Hey, we're going to do this new match. Hey, we're going to do this new match. Hey, we're going to do this new match. But it's still a 3-gun match, right? Mm-hmm. So my advice when people come to me is hey, what do you think of this format? I always think well, where are you located? There's a match within 3 hours of you right now. Why don't you go help that match? and make it like amazing, instead of starting your own. And now you've got two pretty good matches. Like work with the match director and make like one amazing match.
It's also, I agree with that 100%, but it also has another taxing on it that people don't think about all the time, and that is the supporters of the match. Not only through your customers being your paid participants, but your sponsors. And, where I talked about earlier about the volunteers pulling on that pool without increasing the number of volunteers, well, the sponsors are the same way. We went from 6 or 8 major 3-gun matches to now 60. Well, those sponsors can't support all of them at a $10,000 level. I was a sponsor coordinator for FN. I can tell you the number of requests we would get for sponsorship and stuff. And, that's one of the reasons why we did the contingency program as another way to pay back to the sport. But we had to then start looking at how we can minimize and spread that same amount of money year after year over more. And you're right, Dave. I mean, without a doubt, instead of starting another 3-gun, partner with another organization or another match and help make that match the best match there is. And I think we'll see a lot of good come out of that versus just another match for somebody to shoot. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to discourage anybody from starting a match.
I know it's a tough one, because as a shooter, you think like, hey, more shooting opportunities. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, more shooting opportunities is great, but you also want to make sure the product that you're putting forward is no different than what I do on a daily basis. I need to differentiate myself from the competition, and how can I get that consumer to spend money? Apply that same standard to the match. And whatever you do, whatever somebody does, if they're deciding to start a match, do not think you can plan something and be effective in 3 to 4 months. It took me the first FN match I started in May, thinking about it, May of 2010, and it went on the ground November of 2011.
Oh, yeah, okay. It does take a long time then.
And then, while as we were finishing one year, I was announcing the date for the next year. So I'm already 12 months out working on it.
Right. Yeah, there's really no rest period for a match director. It's like you got to go right back into marketing.
The only time a match director has any kind of really rest is after the first round is fired, because the range master then takes over.
Yeah.
So you got like 3 days.
Nap time.
Maybe.
Well, let me ask you then. So you seem to understand like concepts of differentiation, market placement, and things like that. What do you think about like marketing a match, like from a match staff standpoint? Like you got your match director and like your various cadre of like executive staff. Like how did you market the FN match, and did you, or did people just come? Is it like the right time to be selling biscuits?
Well, it was a little bit of the right time, and a lot of personal commitment of going to other matches and say, hey, we're going to be putting on this match. You need to come shoot the FN match. I don't know if you know Manuel Bragg shoots a lot of USPSA. Manny Bragg.
Yeah.
I never will
Not
forget.
Personally, I know who he is.
I never will forget. He was a junior coordinator, and I took over for him at the USPSA as junior coordinator. And he said, you all know Larry, because he's the guy that walks around to every match saying, hey, you need to come shoot the Summer Blast. And that's actually accurate. I did that. And, the Summer Blast ended up being 352 shooters, I think, the last year I did it. So, and we ran it on half-day format as well, too. But we shot 10 USPSA stages in half-day format. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a half-day format theme with me, as you can see.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be adopted by a lot of the industry.
But yeah, you have to be as committed to the match to make it successful as somebody is committed to showing up, shooting, and winning the match.
Mm-hmm. So, so your marketing strategy then is like individuals and going out to other matches, shooting, saying, "Hey, come to my match."
Correct. And then you're also I was fortunate enough that I had already a history of the USPSA match. I think I started out the first year. We had 125 shooters show up to the Summer Blast in 2001. And we ended with, I think, 352 the last year in 2008. Tremendous growth. But, your local clubs, your area, they also would help. Obviously with USPSA, we had an advertising section in the magazine. They also helped with 3-gun matches. We were able to advertise in that as well. But the Brian Enos Forum was a huge help. 3-Gun Nation was a huge help to be able to start kind of promoting that stuff and things. And obviously that was the infancy of 3-Gun Nation. But certainly any avenue where you can do a touch, where it's a person via personal contact, a friend contact, an email, that is an opportunity to get your match name in front of somebody.
Got it. Yeah, it reminds me of something like when I started the 3-Gun show. One of the most basic things that I read about marketing and getting your name out there was to put a link to your show or your YouTube channel, your Instagram, in your email. So any email you send out has like one touch on there. And that's like a small example of what you're talking about. Like anyone that you meet is like a potential customer.
Well, in life, I used to use this term all the time when I would teach the field training officer program for the police department. It's the rule of tens. For every person that they know 10 people. And you never know where your influence as an instructor is going to end. I kind of took that same philosophy as a match director. Touching people, when I say touch them, talk to them, give them a flyer, whatever. You never know where that influence is going to stop because they're going to call a buddy up. Hey, I'm thinking about going to this match. I want somebody to ride along. Next thing you know, you got 2 guys coming or 3 guys or, a husband and a wife or whatever. And next thing you know, they come there, they have fun. Then they're going back and telling other people, hey, man, you got to go shoot this match. Man, I had so much fun last year. And there's a domino effect to where you end up with a waiting list, which is a good thing to have. But it's also one of those evils that once you hit a standard, you must always constantly maintain that standard or keep improving it. Because if you don't, the last thing you want to do is let your customer down.
Yeah, that's probably another good piece of advice too. Is to have like a big picture, like a long-term view, because that whatever you do in that first year is gonna, pay dividends in that second year, and those 2 years are going to pay dividends in that third year, and those 3 years are going to pay dividends in that fourth year. So if you look at it like that, and you think like, this isn't just I'm doing everything right now for May or for November when your match was. I'm doing everything right now for May. Like I'm doing everything right now for November 2011, November 2012, November 2013.
Yep. And to another caveat on that people have to remember is don't be afraid to ask somebody an opinion of what they thought from a match. And, in the military, we used to do the 3 up, 3 down. Give me 3 positives, give me 3 negatives. And if somebody's got to sit there and struggle to give you 3 negatives, you're doing pretty darn good. But take those negatives because they may see something that you never saw. Like, hey, Larry, I noticed that the trash cans were full at the end of each day. Okay, so that's a note to me. Hey, make sure the staff is dumping the trash cans at lunchtime. Or trash is overflowing. Just a small example, but certainly, hey, you could have used an extra porta potty down on stages, 5, 6, and 7, or something like that.
Yeah, we are streaming this live on YouTube, and we got an interesting comment from one of the viewers right now. What Goes Boom says that there's an inverse relationship between match fee and volunteerism. The more I pay to shoot, the less I expect to work.
Okay.
Yeah. Might need a little bit of clarification on that.
How honest can I be with your viewers?
As much as you want, man. Like the reason that you're on the podcast here is to increase the knowledge of the community.
I'm sorry they have that view and understand their view, but understand if they don't want to give back to the sport in some time and some volunteerism or working, our sport's not going to last too long.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sincerely from the heart. I've been doing this for 29 years. And are there days that I go to a match that I don't want to pick up steel? Absolutely. I don't want to take targets? Absolutely. It's hot, it's muggy, it's miserable. I want to just sit and drink some water. Or it's raining. Yes. But you're shooting the sport because of the love of the sport. The love of the sport is part of that, is giving back to that sport, whether it's you're working after you pay your match fee, got it. But that's kind of part of our DNA and our blood. We're not in this. We're in this to enjoy the shooting, to enjoy the Second Amendment, and that's what we always got to keep foremost in our minds.
Yeah, well said. It kind of reminds me of Cub Scouts. Larry, you've got kids. Were you ever in Cub Scouts?
Nope.
Do you have them in Cub Scouts? No. So
we did. What's the small little guys? Bears,
Tiger Cubs.
Bear Cubs.
Tiger Cubs.
He started in that, and he wanted to play soccer and football and everything else. So something had to go.
It's probably the same in soccer and football too. But what was pointed out when I was younger was that the people that are leading seem to burn out the quickest. Like the pack leader turns over every few years because they've got so much responsibility and so many things to do. Whether if more people volunteer and come in and help, then it keeps that burnout at bay for quite a while. And I've seen that recently with a lot of match directors too. Like it seems to be like a cycle, like 3 or 4 and just done.
Yep. And my grandfather always had an old saying: "Many hands make light work."
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and if you enjoy what we do, and you always want it to be there, you've got to give that time back into it, so to ensure it's there. I mean, plain and simple. If you look at volunteerism across the board, Dave, a lot of people don't know, I spent 21 years as a volunteer firefighter, with the last 10 years back in Dale City, Virginia. And, I slept at the firehouse at nights. And, volunteerism has kind of really gone down. We see the numbers dwindling in the volunteer fire department. Your civic groups, your Ruatan, your Elks, your Lions Club, even in my mom's church. Obviously I don't go to that church because I'm living out here in Kansas, but my church back home, there's, a core group of people. When I say core group, 3 or 4 or 5 people that are doing a majority of the fundraisers and stuff like that. And that over time, like you said, will cause burnout, or the person moves away or something happens to them. Well, that's one less person now. And then a good leader always has to train their replacement, regardless of what you do. That's the combat mentality I've always had. You always let the entire team know what your plan is and what's going on, because one day you may not be here.
Yeah. That's a really good method of doing it. And it's interesting that you say like volunteerism as a whole is down, because I've been kind of feeling bad, like in my little 3-gun bubble of seeing that and just being bummed out. But maybe it's more of like a societal problem, like a bigger societal problem.
It is. And more so probably in the last 10 years. But, let's face it. When my parents, my mom stayed home when my brother and I were growing up. Now you have families that are dual income and sometimes 3 income or 4 income to make ends meet. And your time to volunteers is dwindled. So the society as a whole, that's a creation of many things. You just can't point at the one thing and say, "Oh, that's the culprit. Let's go fix it."
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, shoot.
Got any more questions?
Yeah, let's talk about some happy stuff, man. So let's real quick. Let's put a bow on this. Like, so how if we placed you in charge of like a program to increase volunteerism, what would you do? Like, what can you and I do as regular guys that may have some people to listen to them?
First off, you got to make it fun for everybody, participants, both on the volunteer side and the customer side. Because let's face it, we're working.
Yeah.
And if you don't have fun at your work, what are you going to want to do?
Yeah, you
Not
don't
go
want
to
to work
work.
there anymore.
Exactly. So for me, I think that's one of the biggest things that if I'm in charge of something, we're going to go have fun, and you lead from the front, not from the back. You don't push people. You pull them. Come on, hey, let's go do this. And I think that's a big thing that's actually missed nowadays is people are willing to lead, but you've got to entrust people to do stuff and such. So
That's a really good point, man. And I think I've definitely been guilty of that in the past. Like I've shot some RO matches where they just like check the box, like the RO shot. Yes, it's not like did the ROs have a good time? You know, was
right,
it fun for them? Was it safe
right.
for them? Was it fair for them? And it's like, well, this was a shitty time, and I didn't have fun. But then I've told a lot of people about it, and I probably turned a lot of people off from ROing, and that was bad.
Well, one of the other biggest things that people have a tendency to do is they want to immediately squash somebody's enthusiasm or somebody's willingness. Case in point, for an example of if I have somebody comes to me, hey, I want to design a course of fire and I want to put it on the ground. Okay, great. You design it. Let me look it over, make sure it's safe. You put it on the ground, and then we'll see if we have to adjust anything. And then you make subtle suggestion for adjustments where like, oh no, that's all wrong. You got to fix that. It's like, hey, have you thought about turning that target just a little bit because, if the shooter comes over here, they might clip the wall with a bullet and it goes in an unsafe direction. So you're getting them to start thinking about it versus, oh, that's all wrong and go fix it. And you've deflated that enthusiasm.
Exactly. Like you're dumb. Never design a stage again.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, I can't tell you that some of the things that AJ has done and he sets it out there and I walk up like, what the hell you do that for? That's a dumbass. But he takes it all in good stride. And I hope he's listening because he'll be sitting there laughing and was like, yep, I've done that.
Yeah. Well, good. All right. So make it fun for people is the way to encourage volunteerism.
Why do we do what we do, Dave?
It's fun, man.
Exactly.
If it wasn't fun, we wouldn't be doing it. And so
exactly.
This reminds me of another conversation I've had recently of someone said that, they weren't going to shoot this match because there was no prize table. And I thought like, wow, you shoot matches for prize tables? Like that sounds terrible. Like your happiness and your enjoyment of something is contingent upon whether you can take a trinket home with you, not like the experience as itself. Like you've never run a 5K.
Can I just put that in financial perspective?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's analyze this real quick.
By the way, let me preface this by saying this is a really nice person and I don't hold any ill will, but
no.
Go ahead.
But that discussion has come up multiple times with people.
Sure.
And what's the average match fee for a 3-gun match? Let's just take a 3-gun match since this is the
250 to 330. So let's call it 275.
Okay. 275. But let's make it for easy math, $300.
Okay.
Okay. So on average, a 3-gun match is 2 or 3 days long, right?
Yes.
A major. All right. So let's go 3 days. You're going to get there the night before and maybe leave on the next day. So if the match is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're going to get there on Wednesday night and you're going to leave on Sunday. So you got 4 nights of hotel. I stay in a lot of hotels with my work, and the average hotel bill, while it says $99, that's on a Tuesday through Thursday. You hit Friday, Saturday, it's like $150. Mm-hmm. So let's do easy math with taxes and everything. Let's call it $150. So 4 nights in a hotel, that's $600. We haven't talked about travel, getting there, and food.
Yep.
So let's talk about travel. Let's just call it you drive. Let's call it, and you're splitting some gas with some buddies. Let's call it $50.
Okay.
And over four days of meals, how much you think you're going to spend? $200 in meals?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because you're most people aren't doing like ham sandwiches. It's right. Mexican dinner with a nice margarita.
So before you've even fired one round, You have $300 match fee, $600 in hotel, $200 in meals, and $50 for transportation to get you there.
I got $1,150.
$1,150. How many guns can you buy for $1,150?
Well, I just saw Ruger put out a single action 22 for $275.
So that's five.
Yeah,
Four.
it's four. Yeah,
All right.
and a nice brick of 22 to go shoot them all.
So that tells me right there that there are people that are doing that. They're deep down in there. They're not doing it for the prize table. They're just saying that, hey, I'm doing it I want to shoot for prizes. What prize on that table is really worth, especially in a handgun match, is worth $1,150?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we haven't calculated ammo in on that either.
Well, and I always wonder, so I'm like an amateur sociologist. I like to watch people and like try to figure out like their motivations and why they're doing it. So I always wonder, like, what is it that you need in your life as an individual that that makes you think like the prize is going to be it? Like, are you looking for like I need to prove that I'm the best? I need to have the biggest, shiniest trophy to put on the trophy wall. Like, what is it that you're getting from that prize that validates you as a human, or that fills some sort of specific basic monkey brain need, that you have? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what on like a base level is it that you get?
I think the only thing that I could come up with in a short time to answer that question, Dave, is that's a measurement of accomplishment.
Oh, there you go. Does a trophy not do the same?
Well, it does, but I can't bolt a trophy onto my gun that I just picked up off the prize table like that new 4-inch I can.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, if the trophy's capable of M-lock and Magpul's got that new killer M-lock system out, I mean, we could do that, but or I could flip it around I could flip it around and put it beside, you've got the Vortex sign up there. It's like, hey, I can put it right there. That become a data card.
Yeah. There you go. All right. M-lock trophies. You heard it here first.
Well, what's funny is the Summer Blast that I did, that USPSA match, that was a trophy only match, and it was a $75 match fee.
Yes. And that's what I kind of like, is like those I don't know, for whatever reason we're calling them major matches, but those like mini majors where there may not be a prize table, but all the people that want to go there are the shooters, right? So it's like $75, it's $100. The stages are going to be awesome, and we're just going to shoot. And then afterwards, we're going to have some cold beer.
Going back to talking about the FN match a little bit, the biggest expense I had out of that was housing the match staff. But we also had a lot of match staff there. And, every year I would turn in an expense report. I had all the receipts and everything in a financial statement laid out every year. And that money constantly kept going back into match. You would see new connexes there, a new stat shack and such. But I firmly believe if somebody wanted to run a 3-gun match, you could do a 3-gun match probably for $150 for a match fee, and it'd be plaques only. But you got to understand something, that for $150, that's going to be extremely lean, and you might not. I could do $125, but you're going to take targets. You're going to reset steel.
Yeah, so you might have to go pee in the woods.
Yeah, and it depends upon what you want. Look, as I've gotten older in life, I just turned 50, and that was a hard number for me to accept and be able to say. But here's something that at 25 years old, I was okay driving a 5-speed 4-cylinder Cavalier, because it got me where I wanted to go. But now I like my Sierra crew cab SLT 4-wheel drive automatic, but they're not priced the same. But I get a whole lot more features and benefits out of that 2015 Sierra versus that Cavalier or Sunbird, or my first car was a 79 Monza. Go imagine that one. So as we get older in life, we realize those comfort features and everything are much better. That's the same way you got to look at matches. What's the features and benefits of the match that you're really paying for?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's why like local matches are such an amazing value. I mean, granted they're one day, usually 4 to 5 stages, but you pay 30 to $50.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, if you think about it, in your overall expenses, you're not housing any staff. Just to give you an idea, Dave, we had 80 or 82 members of match staff. In just the housing alone was $20,000.
Jesus. Well, and that was like before VRBOs. Like now you could probably just get like a few houses, 20 houses.
But it's also, you also want to be able to say, hey, here's a nice accommodation that you can come home to. The air conditioner works really well. It's nice and clean. You can go back and relax and stuff. We put them at the match hotel. I mean, I thought we got a really good deal from our match hotel because we held the shooters banquet there, the staff banquet there, and their hotel filled up those five or 6 days that we were involved there. So that was a big income generator for them as well too.
Yeah, I think that's probably one thing that matches miss a lot now is the match hotel thing. Is the banquet doesn't seem to really happen at a lot of matches. It's kind of coming back, but a lot of times it'll be on the range, like at the venue, at the outside or something like that. But
that's okay really as long as it's not raining and the wind's not blowing 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, wind.
And I'll tell you, Dave, I took that from the Bianchi Cup. The first year I shot the Bianchi Cup, I thought it was so cool that everybody got together, dressed nicely, you get pictures, award presentations and everything. And I kind of rolled that version into a 3-gun, more of a blue collar type. We said, hey, business casual. I'll never forget Jesse Teschauer showing up the first year with blue jeans and his shooting shirt on. I'm like, is this business casual? He goes, well, in my business it is. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, yeah, so that's a really good point. Like the banquet things seem to be gone because I think a lot of people are like, hey, match is over. Give me that prize. I got a fly to catch.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and I think people are trying to, now that I said that out loud, I think people are trying to maximize the amount of matches they can shoot by minimizing the time off work or something like that, or the time away from home. But
exactly.
But it goes back to that Sierra thing. It's like, well, you can have 25 Cavaliers for what you pay for your Sierra,
Exactly.
But does that make it that much better?
Exactly. Quantity does not always replace quality.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure, especially in firearms.
Yeah, don't tell my wife that.
Okay, yeah. Never mind. I'll retract that one. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, Larry, you've given me a lot to think about, man. Like some interesting concepts. I think speaking to you has been like a breath of fresh air. Hopefully, the audience has taken something away from that too. So let's do a little bit of a transition here. Let's put a pin in that one. Maybe we'll revisit it some other point in the future. But you worked at FN. You worked there for a number of years. You've done a pivot. You work for Vista Outdoors now. Before we got going here, you sent me a product that just came out that you had a lot of development input in. Why don't we talk about that for a little bit here?
Well, that product just launched April 10th. That is the new Blackhawk T-Series holster. For the first time, Blackhawk really truly has a thumb drive duty-rated holster. For years, Blackhawk's been known for the Serpa, and the Serpa is 15, 16 years. Been a great workhorse for Blackhawk. But we knew it was time that transition had to occur to that thumb drive holster. So what you see there, Dave, is we've taken technology and lessons learned from all the various holsters that Blackhawks developed. We basically laid all the holsters out on the table with all the engineers around. We said, hey, what's the attributes that you like the most out of that holster, that holster, that holster? And we kind of put them all together. Lessons learned from doing the Epic holster, the Serpa holster to begin with, then the Epic holster, then the Omnivore that we launched a couple years ago that you probably know about that takes 236 different handguns.
Yeah.
So those all came together, and what you're seeing now is a truly innovative holster. Thumb drive. It's all around the master grip principle, where you have your basic grip on your handgun. That your thumb shouldn't move, or index finger shouldn't move from those locations. That's all in proportion to that. And we tested various different size hands to make sure they could reach the controls. It is a dual injected molded holster, which means there's a outer shell of glass-filled nylon and an inner shell of a material called Hytrel. And that Hytrel is also found in our ARC holster. I equate it to our shooting industry. If you've heard of Delrin, and the first one really to bring Delrin to the shooting
Delrin
industry
right over there.
was the Dawson Ice Magwell.
Yep.
And how it's super smooth. Well, we took that same approach to the holster. That allows a couple things. Dual materials, it deadens the sound of the holster when you're reholstering it, so it doesn't have that loud clunk or like a hollow sound to it. The second thing it does, it allows the user to really clamp the holster down to their tight as they want that handgun to be in there for friction fit, and our adjustment screw on the side, so they can keep rattle and everything down. So if they're running, they don't have all that extra rattle. Then the last thing that it does is, because that's that super slick material, it minimizes the wear on the finish of the handgun. Which, as you know, with glass-filled nylon, glass is an abrasive.
Yep.
The more glass you have in the holster, the stronger the holster is, but then it becomes more abrasive on the sides of the gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got the, it's kind of funny because a long time ago, someone told me like the proprietary finish on a Glock made it completely impenetrable to machine tools and blah, 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 blah. Now everyone's like machining stuff. But I've got holsters that rubbed off the finish of Glock slides.
That's because of that.
Yeah, exactly. Huh, that's pretty interesting.
So we're not saying that it will totally prevent the wear of the slides, but it's certainly going to minimize it. And I think we've got a winner there. Everybody that we've put it in our hands absolutely loves the feel of it, how easy it is to operate, and such. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I do like the thumb retention idea. I just in fact picked up a new holster for an STI DVC3 gun that I have that has a thumb brake on there, but it's the hood. So where you've got another thumb brake on here and a hood option, right?
So in other words, you want me to go root through this box real quick to find one?
Well, I want to know where it attaches.
Hold on.
Like what's the retention part of it? Because I'm super curious on this, because I was looking over the I'm just kind of vamping while you're gone here, but I was looking over the data sheet that you sent me, and it looks like it's a pretty good method of retention, but I want to know what that method is because I'm curious.
Okay, so you know what? I might as well grab my orange gun, a blue gun.
Heck yeah! Didn't know we were going to do show and tell, did you?
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to do show and tell, but luckily I'm in my office where I got all these accessories and toys. Okay, I'm going to try to show this into the camera there.
Yeah,
you see right there, there's a thumb release mechanism right there in between these two guards.
Yes.
So if you're looking at it from the front, there's a guard right here, and we put that in holsters for law enforcement to keep a bladed hand from coming in here and activating the locking mechanism for handgun takeaway. Okay. So we also, from the backside, we bladed it as well from the backside. So it's protected from the front and the rear, not only from a rear takeaway, but debris, rocks, anything like that getting in there. So really, and what you're going to do, it's going to be kind of hard for me to show this, but I'm going to try to show it here. You're going to take your thumb, hit the release in just like this. It just goes in.
Okay.
Okay. So the draw sequence is when you come down to the gun, you're just simply going to come straight into the gun, and your thumb hits the release just like that. And then you draw the gun.
Interesting.
So you're always, if you remember, with your handgun, you always want to work with your master grip principle right there. So the release is right there. So my thumb is just going to make a simple motion in like this. So what I've been teaching people, because I've got an extensive background in firearms teaching, instead of making a C to operate our competitors, the rotating hood and pull back on the lever, you can make a V, and as you come and seat your hand on the handgun, you're actually able to hit the release with no additional emphasis and emotion.
Interesting. So on the okay, so that has like, is that level 2? Is that what they call that?
This particular model here is a level 2, and
Okay.
if you want me to grab a level 3, we've got a spring activated hood.
That's fine. I'm just trying to figure out what the nomenclature is, because I'm kind of a Neanderthal when it comes to that type of thing. But so that's level 2. So where on the pistol does that level 2 retention hold? Is that on the trigger guard itself, or is that somewhere else?
This is actually on our trigger guard, because that is a patent that we already have.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Interesting. Well, that looks like a sweet idea. So, for Larry, for your information, a couple of years ago, I was shooting Blue Ridge, and I tripped over a stump and did an endo, like a serious somersault, lost my pistol, and was DQ'd and had to go home. So since then, I've really liked the active retention on a pistol holster, and this seems like a pretty cool solution. So I was looking at your product sheet, and of course, you guys come out with like the most popular police guns first, right? So every kind of Glock and SIG P320.
Keep in mind, this is driven duty gun first, because
sure.
That's a market.
So that's my next question.
We really want to attack and go to. But we have what we call our L2C compact versions that are going to be geared toward the commercial market. Everything is meeting to law enforcement duty standards. So a police officer can carry the exact same holster that you carry. If you want to carry it every day, is carrying that on duty. We're not separating any different standards or anything. It's all the same. So what you'd want to look for for a 3-gun application is the L2C.
Okay.
And that is, we've got those right now for the Glock and the SIG 320, the Glock 43, the M&P Shield 940, and the Glock 19 and 17.
And that has the same level 2 retention?
Correct.
Okay.
So one of my focuses, because of my law enforcement background, is a lot of times when you have a police officer that comes off patrol and goes to be a detective, they get issued a completely different holster. They're like, yep, here's your issued holster. Well, they don't even send them out to the range to get them familiar with it before they're carrying it on duty. This way now, that holster can be issued, that L2C holster can be issued. It's the same exact release mechanism that they have in their L2D or L3D duty holster. So there's no training switch over or anything like that for officers.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you are a competitor, you've got a Glock 34, you're shooting the new SIG P320, it's a good option for you. Now for guys like me that have gone like super gamer and are shooting 2011 platforms, can we expect something like that coming down the line?
Not for a while, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry.
Almost.
However, I just got done our second phase of the T series, and in there's for 1911, so it'd be applicable for IDPA single stack shooters. And Dave, let me say this: I've practiced and played with this holster. I've been working on developing this holster now for the last 18 months, and I'm just as fast out of a level 2 duty holster as I'm a friction retention holster.
Nice.
That's good. That's how fast this holster is.
Yeah. Yeah. So with with one of the competitor holsters that you were talking about there, I found with that thumb release, it wasn't even that much of a difference after I trained with it. So it's good to know that this is the same type of deal here.
Hey, and listen, don't get me wrong. Those guys built a great holster.
Sure.
It's just, we needed something different than a Serpa, and I was able to bring this product to the market, and I think it's going to be a great product. And really, I think this product is, Serpa came out 2003, 2004. I think we're sitting right now and seeing what can be the next Serpa or as big as the Serpa.
Sure. Well, and I've been a vocal critic of the Serpa for some time now, so this looks like a more safe option as well. So that's a good thing for you guys to have in the market.
And absolutely, this is not for their look. There's the diehard Serpa guys out there that absolutely love the Serpa and will have nothing else but the Serpa. This is really geared toward that segment of the population that doesn't like the Serpa or doesn't want to use the Serpa. So.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, so Larry, we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes here. I feel like I know you and I can tell you anything. So I'm just going to tell you, like, for a long time, like, Blackhawk seemed like just the Walmart junk brand. And in the last few years, I've seen like a huge turnaround where Vista's actually putting in some effort and creating new products, putting, good people like yourself in positions of influence there. And the products I'm seeing coming out of Blackhawk are like a lot of stuff that I would never have guessed in a million years.
Well, Dave, it's glad I'm in the show and tell room then.
What else we got?
That's a brand new holster.
What is that?
That is a Blackhawk premium leather antique brown holster.
Huh. No kidding.
Yeah. This is something that I developed and brought to the market last year. So basically all our leather holsters are handmade out of Italy. And
wow.
These holsters, because of the way we finish them, no two holsters are the same. This is actually a hand dyeing process that goes over top of it. So no two holsters are the same. So you're getting a semi-custom holster without the huge custom price.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, again, more stuff that I never thought I'd see from Blackhawk. So what's on the horizon for Blackhawk then?
Well, obviously the T series is on the horizon. We just hired a new on-gun accessory manager that's going to go through and revamp all our on-gun accessories. I'm kind of looking really forward to some cool stuff. And now you talk about cool stuff from Blackhawk. You want to see something cool from Uncle Mike's?
Yeah, sure.
Handgun?
Yeah, that was my first holster.
This is for a 22, but
that's Uncle Mike's?
That's Uncle Mike's, brother.
Huh.
What do you think?
That's
that cool
pretty,
or what?
It looks like a custom holster that you would buy from one of the sweet manufacturers.
So it's the Uncle Mike's green inside with a carbon fiber exterior. Now, we'll have this for the STIs, the DVC 3 gun, the DVC Limited, your Glock 34s, 35s, your M&P long slides, your Canic, SIG 320, all your competition line holsters or handguns, that will have this holster for that. Comes with a belt mount. MSRP is $44.95.
Wow. That's a good price point.
So as you can see, I'm kind of doing some cool, exciting stuff. Not only just to Blackhawk, but Uncle Mike's. I'm kind of excited for the next year. I really am.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I'm excited to see that. It's cool when so again, just being frank, when like a company that has become like a punchline over the years completely turns around and is actually putting out like quality products, so I mean that's fantastic.
Well, I'll definitely when I get my L2C samples for my for the T series, I'll get you one over so you can play with it. I'm sure you've got a Glock, don't you?
Oh yeah, I always joke I've got a pillowcase full of Glocks. So
right,
they're all 9mm.
Most guys that have guns have Glocks.
Yeah, I'm never more than arm's width from a Glock in my home. So,
but yeah, we'll get you one to play with, and if you give us your feedback on a show one night or whatever, that's up to you. But certainly get you to play with it, and you can see that Blackhawk is on the comeback.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to check it out. I'm a super mechanical nerd, which is why you see all these tools and gun parts behind me. So I'm always interested in how things work. So yeah, I'd love to play with one of those. Check it out.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Larry, I won't take up much more of your evening here. We've been going for quite a while now, but I want to first of all thank you for your time and for just sharing the knowledge and the heritage of everything that you've done over the years and sharing that with the community tonight.
Dave, I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully for all the viewers out there, you guys were able to get an insight of a little bit of how I evolve some things and give somebody some insights of why we should continue in the shooting sports and be those proponents of the Second Amendment through shooting.
Absolutely. So, Larry, one last final thought or piece of advice. If you got something you want to leave the audience with, just go ahead and shout it out right now.
Well, I'll say this for all the new shooters out there, or people that are just getting into shooting. I will tell you this: invest good money in equipment and ammo when you go to a match. The last thing you want to do is try to save $20 on your match ammo, and that ends up costing you 30 or 40 places in a match performance because your ammo didn't want to feed, wasn't reliable. I equate it to you own a Top Fuel dragster and you're trying to run a quarter mile in 3.5 seconds on pump unleaded gas. You're just not going to be able to do it. So spend a few extra dollars, save the inexpensive ammo for practice and things like that, but run good match ammo when you go to shoot at a major match.
That is excellent advice. I wish you would have given me that back in 2011 when I first started.
Well,
Thanks.
Thanks, you didn't
buddy.
have me on the show soon enough.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's excellent advice. I totally agree there. Well, Larry, this has been a pleasure, man. We're going to have to do this again sooner than later. And
Absolutely.
Hope to see you on the range in the future, man. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care. Good talking to you.
You too.